Good evening and welcome to Edessa the Dark Crusade Season 2. Tonight we have a scene in the rack within the newly rebuilt shop of one Omar Satib. On the first floor, Madeline is sitting. Her two followers, I suppose you could call it, sits in the basement. They just seem to be browsing the shop, just looking at merchandise and just keeping one or two of the other ghouls in this place company at the moment. Madeline herself is sitting reading a book at the first floor. She is awaiting company in this, well, leisurely place where you can discuss.
Yeah, it's not too long that the Merchant of Bones will arrive at this location, and quite frankly, it's actually probably one of his first times he's been here, considering that since he's been in Edessa, that he's been thrust upon a great many of things and quite busy, and hasn't really had the leisurely time to take in indulgences of conversation and meeting other Canaanites. So I guess we start with that tonight. And he arrives in his typical regalia that Madeline is used to seeing him in. Maybe even other Canaanites if they had if they had paid attention to him as he's wandered around the streets of Odessa collecting the dead and such. And behind him actually is a rather um, tall woman. Not as tall as him, but she is definitely stout, very sturdy, and she is dressed um, in case there is any kind of problems, more so than him. You see, because he is actually uh, not one that is not very well suited for confrontation, where maybe sword or feats of strength might come into play. So he kind of keeps that around, especially with the knights being as they are. And he will come and he will basically turn and give this woman a just a quiet nod, and she will basically just stand off quietly to the side someplace where she is not too invasive or maybe even just threatening, but enough where she could definitely kind of come to his aid if need be.
Okay.
But he comes in. You hear the familiar tamp of like his cane and stuff, and he kind of just looks around a little bit. Like I said, it's his first time here, so he's just kind of checking out
Hmm.
basically the shop and what it might have to offer, if it's safe, so to speak. He knows it's a can I safe area, but it's the first time you're here. You want to make sure. So that's what he's doing.
And Madeline just sits. She just, as you enter, she just smiles and just nods. Well, actually, she will get up and she will just say, "Ah, good evening. Very good to see you again."
It's good to see you too, Sister Madeline. I trust the knights find you well.
Ah, apart from the quite dreadful business these last weeks, then yes,
It's such a shame, isn't it? But it seems life continues on, does it not?
I suppose it has to. She kind of, there is a chair at the table she was sitting at that is like pulled out, so it's almost as if meant for you to sit in. But she just sits down at the table.
Yeah, he spots the chair and he kind of like does that little thing people do with canes where they kind of pitch it up a little bit where it slides through his hand and he kind of grabs it in the middle and just kind of walks with a very noticeable limp, even more so pronounced since he's not using the cane so much. but definitely there. And he takes a seat and just kind of leans to one side on his one arm that lays across the edge of the table.
Hmm. Well, I wish, of course, firstly to acknowledge and express my deepest condolences on your loss. An elder of a clan lost in such a way is quite saddening.
It is quite the shame that I've only been here for a few months, and I have not gotten to spend much time with the prince. He is somebody in my short time here that I've found that I've looked up to. He was not perfect, and there's things I could wish I could change, as we wish we can change everybody, as a potter molds clay. But that is neither here nor there. That feeling will pass. But I appreciate your sentiments.
Even for the clan that masters death as yours do, passage does have certain consequences with it.
Indeed. We may study death, and we may be the foremost authority on it, but it does not mean we still do not cling to some vestiges of mortal life and feeling.
Indeed. But I'm curious, you see. Clan Cappadocian is still present within the city. As I believe, I do not. The Brugia, the Lasombra, and the Cappadocians made a triumvirate that made this city neutral in the war currently being waged, and has helped stability in the city. That stability is long gone, of course, now. Shattered to four winds. However, I see you as a quite influential Ancilla, and a man whose judgment I trust, for what I have seen of it. I wonder if you have any idea or opinion. Would you want this? Would you want to attempt to save this geese that is hanging on by a thread? Or do you have? Well, I apologize. You would, of course, not tell me, but I still wish to make sure that this city, as most kindred, I think, would want to keep it as stable as possible. And I think you would be a person to be on board with such a proposal, maintaining stability.
Having study accommodations for everybody here would be important. I can agree with you on that. Though, as far as what happens between the previous arrangements that were made with the treaty, I cannot say. I've only been here for so long. But it is apparent that my clan has been too complacent with how they've carried themselves, and who knows what will hold in the future as far as how the alliances shake up. Would I prefer things to stay the same? In some respects, yes. Others, no. But with this as a time of change, I'm thinking, and I'd be stupid not to think, that people or other clans would be looking out for their best interest and making sure that whatever comes about and shakes out in the Knights is in their best favor, in their best interest. No matter the previous arrangements that has been made.
I know that you were good friends with Joanna.
To a point. She could have been. Almost there.
Well, again, as you said, you have not spent that much time in the city. And that is true. I must say I'm going to miss Joanna myself. For what it's worth.
The situation with Johanna is quite sad indeed, as you said. I do hope whatever finds her these nights is better than what has happened to her here in Odessa.
One can
And if
only
not,
hope.
then maybe final death will embrace her well. Who knows?
It is rare to see a toreador on a road primarily with your clan.
You know, I said the same thing. I think she is actually the first toreador I've ever seen upon my road. And in some respects, I was quite interested to see just how far she would take herself upon that road. But alas, here we are, and she is on another road, though one that neither you and I could follow.
Hopefully not.
He just chuckles.
Hmm.
But it did bring some concerns about what is going on with all this infernalism. I did not know Johanna had made such a deal, maybe, or I mean, that seems kind of stereotypical to say, because usually when you hear of demons or whatever, it's you always make a deal with them. But I am quite shocked that that is her legacy here.
Well, that brings me to my next point I wanted to speak with you of. Do you know how this probably started?
Say that had this what again?
She asked whether or not you knew how this probably started.
He lowers his head a minute, kind of grabs his chin, tries to think, and he just shakes his head. No, I do not.
The night the plague started, well, the night the first major release of these abominable rats were loosed in the city. I, myself, a Malkavian, two Malkavians, Irene, Joanna, and Margot, we were all gathered for a quiet, calming night. It was there I first saw, well, the first demon I had ever seen. Margot apparently had this thing follow her for quite some time. Another Toreador. She made a deal with it in my presence. I saw it myself. Not long after, I saw it again, but this time it was bigger. She looks around. It appeared in this room, and she points over to a part of the room that they're sitting in. You can actually, when she points over, you can see that some of the woodwork has changed. There's definitely been repairs here.
Yeah, he looks. You can kind of see him turn. You actually see him turn his head and kind of do that whole sitting, leaning forward, and kind of get a better look type of gesture. He definitely seems to follow you as you're speaking.
I was worried, and I would have acted immediately, but the plague had just hit, and the city was destabilizing fast. But I attempted to stake Margot in his room. I failed. Moments later, a larger and quite devilish fiend was present in his room. As far as I have heard from Torvald and others, at Johanna's place, when she was possessed, it was able to do the same, spew out fire, almost at will, seemingly from nowhere. Made a hole in well, in the floor. This place has been closed. Well, it was repaired. I do not know if it's the same entity that took over Johanna, but when once there was one, suddenly now there were two. There might be, God only knows, how many. And this is something that we must all, for clan politics, before we all hatch up and hack out parts of the city to distribute them amongst each other anew, to redistribute the city amongst us. We must be certain that these infernalists are gone. We now know that it was not them that brought the plague. It was not the devil that brought the plague, but Cainites. But I do not know much, and I still do know very little of these things, of these demons. But I have seen enough by now to recognize the enormous threat they are.
I quite remember the night that Johanna was taken. I too was succumbed to the blaze of fire that came off of her. I believe you were there that night. I believe I watched you be punched through the ceiling, if I remember correctly.
Quite so.
And it would seem that our demons here prefer a pretty face. And makes me wonder just how entrenched maybe these infernal figures are within the Toreador. And I commend you on your attempt to stake Margot. I agree that the problem with infernalism should be a collective goal to remove amongst the Cainites here in Odessa. But I can guarantee that you probably know more than I do. I wish I knew more, but when it comes to demons, that is where my knowledge seems to waver and die off.
Honestly, perhaps it is for the better. Suppose the more you would look into demons and the more you would show interest in understanding them, the more you yourself would be considered a person of interest, shall we say.
Indeed. In fact, if I would have known that it was that bad with Johanna, I probably would have separated myself much more.
All right. Regardless, what is done is done. What concerns me more is how well they might be hiding.
That is a good point, especially when we don't know if it left with Johanna or not.
Hmm. Why? These things are not going to get any easier, of course, without a sheriff or a prince, but hopefully that will be dealt with in time.
No, yeah, excuse me. But if there's one thing I can bet on is that every Canite loves to shed a little blood, whether it's their own or not, or excuse me, whether it's immortals or not. I would think one of a known infernalist would do quite the amount of quite a bit of good for the uh, what's the word? Goodness
Community?
of yeah, the community. Excuse me, and oneself.
As to allay suspicion.
That and help tone things down with whatever might be occurring amongst the rest of the clan, aggressions and whatnot.
Probably true. Someone should look for a pretty face who seems fervently involved in the well-being of others. She just she kind of shoots you a smirk, being very very pretty herself as she says, "So you are suspecting me, I think, by that logic."
Oh, you are quite the specimen, Madeline. In fact, I would say if you were to crumble here and turn to dust, I would wish your skull to be left behind so I could keep it on my desk to find myself enticed each night or enthralled each night. But I have other concerns about your pretty face. And he just smiles, but it's behind a mask. So
She actually you'll it's probably the first time you've seen Madeline just like raises an eyebrow fairly much, and she just spoken like a true avatar of your clan. I am not certain I can remove my skull without. Perhaps there is some sort of arrangement, I am not sure. She laughs.
yeah, he just chuckles too.
I once knew a neonate, when I was myself was a neonate, of your clan, Mashid. She was, well, a good scholar of your road, I think. I had quite a bit of fun. Well, not toying with her, but exploring the quite special mm, temperament of your clan.
Hmm. Did she enjoy it? Your
She was taken
ministrations?
aback by my somewhat forward nature, but she managed to, well, adjust.
I know we are the clan of death, so to speak, but it is also, well, death is also about life as well, and sometimes we must make sure we keep our connections to it and go out and find those that are willing to deal with our company, as we cannot be, sometimes we are not the easiest to socialize or be with, but
Honestly,
hopefully he just
as
quiets down.
oh well, I'm sorry. Uh,
No, it's good. He really, yeah, it's good. Don't worry about it.
she would then just say, "Hmm, as I told my sheep, it makes you unlike most other canines, and that can actually be a good thing. There's only so many then true Toreador, Bruja, La Sombra, the Mitzi, that you can speak with who acting pretty much the same manner before you becomes well, the conversation becomes somewhat stale. Which is why I enjoyed Joanna, Rashid, and others.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed Johanna while she was still fresh,
Oh, I did.
and that's all I could ask for.
You do know that I saved her life once.
Did you?
Yes, I
How
did.
so? How so?
Well, exactly what we were attacked by, I am not entirely certain. I do believe the good Padre, if he's still in the city, her previous mentor, I suppose by now, a member of your clan, Padre, he would know, but we were attacked by something that referred to itself as the Lady of Rot, or Rot.
And he just kind of pipes up. Yes, I have been regaled with this tale two
Yes.
times.
Oh, then you are well aware. I was the one, well, in suppose, well, I helped quite a lot, but this thing was able to ward somehow her house. But I managed to break one of the windows and pull Joanna with me. So we escaped there. Mm, quite concerning weapons. I can never say that I have been hit with a weapon that feels as though it is draining your soul. But if any weapon is would be able to produce such an effect, I would say that was exactly what it did. We got
Hmm.
out of there.
Well, from what I was told and from what you have said so far, it lines up. And I would have to say that that Lady of Rot definitely seems like quite the character. And the fact that you've made it out with your very lives, something to be appreciative of. And I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. I heard that she was very unpleasant and I guess very, very much so disrespectful to you two. She seemed to mock you while eating a child, I recall. Is that correct?
That, but she seemed to be hmm, perhaps a bit more. She seemed to have a lot of enemies. She seemed to have designs that would punish quite a few people, not only us, but a lot of other canines.
Hmm.
Whatever she was, I do not know what she is, but well, what I know is she is not a specter of any normal extrapolation.
That is true. I have not spent much time with Johanna, but from what she has told me and what you have told me here tonight, I would have to come to the same conclusion. Quite interesting, those weapons, though, too, as well.
Hmm.
Almost seems, if just from what I saw of that beast in the Justinopolis Mount that night, I would feel like it was that same feeling, that soul draining feeling, just being around it as well. It was a very depressive scene, to say the least. In
What
more
exactly
ways.
happened? I heard and saw very little of it myself. I had I was elsewhere occupied, but I was not aware that you were, well, a person like me would be able to see spirits with the naked eye.
What happened there was something, if you had stayed around long enough, something we all could. Well, you were there long enough, excuse me. Forgive me for that. You were there long enough to see the spirits as easily as I could, as easily as anybody else there could. From what I understood, they basically, or, well, they merged two worlds. One here in the physical, and another
The
in basic.
Shadowlands.
Exactly.
I have. I am somewhat of a. I think of myself as something of a scholar. I have learned quite a few things of this world that is not necessarily easily accessible.
Hmm.
Am only relieved to know that I will probably not be seeing that beast anytime soon.
That would be one's hope, but you know what they say about hopes and plans, they often become broken, and what you don't want to happen happens.
Truly.
It's just, but at least with knowledge, and the knowledge you seem to have, well, you know to stay away if you value your life.
Quite so. I suppose members of Clan Cappadocian would be better off than most others, but right.
With a with a creation of that magnitude, I'm not exactly sure. We are a great clan, but I don't know about that about going against that thing, whatever it was.
Well, if the two of us are together and we see it again, I would refer to your experience to handle the situation. She smiles. She's obviously joking. And she just, "Hmm. Tell me, you've met and I guess talked with Gerard for quite some time. What do you make of him?"
Gerard. He's a very paranoid individual. He always seems to question you, even if he doesn't say it specifically, it's written on his face. He kind of seems like a person that seems to be trapped in a corner, um, as if everybody's coming after him. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Hmm. There are certainly people coming after him. Well, in a sense. But
Yes. But I also see that as part of the kind of life we Canites live. We all become paranoid by one thing or another, whether we want to think so or not, or believe so or not. but his just seems to be a little bit more obvious.
Hmm.
Other
That's
than
very
that,
good.
he's been quite decent to me and provided me pretty adequate counsel at times. But other than that, I don't really know him per se.
Hmm.
Like I said, my time here has been very short, all things considered.
Jim and I arrived to this city at roughly the same time. I've served as seneschal in this city quite some time ago, with him as keeper of Elysium at the same time. He is a capable man, and if you have his, well, trust, you have some of his trust, his counsel should be heeded, of course.
Hmm.
But, well, honestly, a Ventru and Scylla who is not paranoid, not watching around every corner, that would be a sign of almost concern if he did not have at least some enemies.
I would like to think we all have some enemies. And yes, like you said, I would be concerned if he did not. After all, it's the same reason why I believe the Cappadocians are in the place they are. Become too complacent, too comfortable.
Well,
Why do you bring him up, though?
I was curious.
Hmm.
And he is somewhat. I would not want to be alone with you.
Really? Why?
Well, my clan has a certain. What shall we call it? Outstanding item. Outstanding concern we need to have resolved at some point.
Hmm. Must be pretty serious if you cannot find yourself to be alone with him.
Well, a member of our clan, a respected member, quite old, I believe older than me, disappeared.
Hmm.
He was close by, but of course, well, there are nothing to show anything, of course. But, well, what shall we say? There are certain understandings as of what went down, but I cannot prove anything, of course.
Hmm. So you have certain suspicions that he might have considered or conducted illicit acts, murder or otherwise?
Worse.
Hmm. Well, that is definitely concerning. I
He
can.
denies it, of course, but the swirlings within my clan are quite substantial. But he seems, I suppose that is one of his strengths. He seems quite chivalrous, quite trustworthy to his allies, capable, and not a person you would ever think of doing something as wrathful and frankly horrible as that. But oh well.
Hmm. Well, I can say that you'd be probably surprised what one could do given the certain, the right opportunity, no matter how good or decent the person may show themselves to be.
Well, that is true. I was once had a momentary lapse in judgment when I was seneschal. Suffice to say, I was kept prisoner, captive,
Hmm.
for a couple of days by a band of caitiff. I managed to escape the situation, but suffice to say, I have been around some rather rapid Diablerists, but did not make a point of hiding what they were.
Hmm.
I am honestly not certain I would be able to go through with it, even if presented with the most open opportunity.
You wholeheartedly believe that?
I certainly hope so.
Hmm.
And just for the sake of it, let's roll. Just the dice roller one. I think I need to roll something out because
Well, I guess if you're doing that, I'll roll. Was it perception, empathy? I guess.
yes, and I have one success. That is terrible roll. You could beat one success.
Oh, okay. I was like, never know, might botch. Oops, not 70, 19. Yeah, he does.
Yeah. You see like she seems to be like she may be trying to play up her like oh, I'm not sure I'll be able to do it. Maybe she wouldn't have that hard of a time. Maybe like you're kind of getting like a little bit into that, and then like.
Hmm. Well, for your sake, Sister Madeline, I certainly hope you find the fortitude to endure in case such a opportunity arises. Goodness knows, or God knows what might happen to you. You should you commit the act, so to speak. Though I have to say I would be quite envious to get your opinion or your views, or you tell me what is actually happening as you do it for research purposes.
Hmm. She actually looks at you with a smile, quite curious. You get this like she seems almost taken aback. She just says, "Such a vile crime, outlawed, punished so much, and yet you wish to discuss what it felt like. It is a very, very curious way to look at it. I must say, you Cappadocians, you never cease to amaze me."
Hmm. I wouldn't think it so far or that much of a stretch, but it is a part of death. I don't know exactly what happens, but it'll be good to know. The knowledge should be known. You hear stories, but a first-hand account would be, well, I would assume would provide great insight.
She just kind of just takes that in for a moment or two. It's just you are a true academic, it seems.
It'll probably be the death of me. And he just chuckles.
Right. I suppose that is a quite noble way to go, if one has to.
There were plenty of awful ways to pass on. And if I'm able to increase the knowledge of my companions and any any Canite that might happen to stumble upon my musings and other things that I've written, perhaps then I might have completed something. I would consider that a win, perhaps. Hopefully somebody would benefit from my research. Who knows? But that brings me to another topic at hand, considering academia.
Oh,
Not too long ago, I have written a letter to your prince asking for the prompt return of things, some tomes that were taken from my prince's vault.
I am quite certain it was the city's prince's vault. I was under the assumption that these belonged to the prince. I tried my very best to save as much as possible. Fire was spreading.
Oh, I know. Someone who had the same idea said the very same thing.
So Aldrich returned books to you?
He did.
Hmm.
But to be honest, I already know that both of you were down there, along with Johanna, before he came to me. I
Hmm.
already knew what had happened.
So you were sure? Well, I assume only the books regarding necromancy returned to you? Well, let us be truly honest, given to you.
As far as I know, he has returned everything, and luckily, none of the he did not have the more concerning or the more precious of the clan secrets. So, from what I understand that is left of the library, you hold the last significant portions. And I don't know truly how much you have. I know it was enough to fit in a chest.
Well, I should perhaps tell you that what was most pressing was the few tomes that he did have on abyss mysticism, which was concerning, perhaps. It was also surprising, a very rare topic, very close to my clan, very important for my clan to keep as a secret. I secured them first, and then certain other tomes. But then, yes, I took something that is of great interest to me. But they do belong to the prince, or did belong to the prince. But if you wish these books, and your clan wishes these books, I am quite certain that a trade can be made.
Hmm. And what exactly are you looking for as far as a trade? All I'm really concerned about is getting more of the necromantic knowledge than anything else.
Then we
Just
seem
getting,
to have the same interest. Knowledge.
as far as I'm concerned, you can keep your mysticisms. But anything dealing with my clan, I would appreciate back. Yes, it was the prince's, but by then it is considered the clan's. By right. So as long as I can have those at least returned to me, I will consider it fair. You get your knowledge back, and well, we get ours back.
Truly. And the chest is as secure as I could make it, meaning it is in Timoran at the moment. I will have to confer with my prince. I have not heard of a letter, but oh well. But I hope that this will be resolved quickly.
I certainly hope so. I would hate to find that the information might have been copied.
That would be quite a shame. You don't need to roll. There's a bit of sarcasm in there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not dumb. I mean, he would do
No,
the
no,
same
no,
thing.
but
I
like,
mean, he would do the same thing too. Well, you know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah, like totally. But she's like, I didn't say anything. I'm just saying. Like, yeah, sure you did. Like, she's obviously, yeah. But and she just goes, well, perhaps a boon could be exchanged. The sign of goodwill that I did risk myself in order to save things.
I seen how you left the vault, Madeline. You were in no danger.
You saw. Hmm. I forget how well versed your clan is in aspects.
I just say what's fair is fair. You keep your stuff and whatever else might have been there. But as long as we get the necromantic knowledge back, I think that's good enough.
Very well. I will confirm with my prince and return it as soon as possible. If he allows me, of course.
Hmm. Well, it'll be a shame if he does not. But it will be what it will be then at that point. But
Madeline just taps her fingers on the book she's been reading in here.
mm-hmm.
She says, well, I suppose this could be the start. And she just kind of pulls it up from where she's been hiding or holding it, and
Mm-hmm.
it is one of the books that belongs to. Well, it's definitely a book regarding necromancy. She just slides it across the table. Yes, start.
And then he takes it, kind of slides it across the table, opens it, kind of see what it's about. Reads like the first few sentences, and then kind of opens it all the way. Kind of like flips through the pages to make sure like nothing was ripped out. The whole deal.
Mm.
Hmm. Did you find it to your liking?
Mm. It is a bit of. Well, I did find it to my liking, I must say. Although there was some repetition, I suppose, when only well, several observations have to be categorized. They might be the same observations of the same thing, but there were also notes that the observer noted that one could have surmised certain things a lot better due to repetition, but other than that, it was a fascinating read.
Hmm. As you said, you are a scholar. Any new insights or no?
No epiphanies, no. But then again, I will say that I know a couple of things of entities from the Shadowlands that might have assisted in making me feel that there were repetitions.
Hmm. Well, this is definitely a good start, though I have to say I'm quite disappointed that we couldn't bring you any further enlightenment upon your reading with this. But I am happy to have at least this book back for now, and I certainly do look forward to the rest.
I will talk to my prince, see if an agreement is wished or what could be, what must be done if it is not a simple exchange.
I do hope that this matter is not tarried on too long, Madeline.
It is a rather minor errand. It should be dealt with quite easily and quickly.
He simply bows his head at that. Well, was there anything else that you needed to speak to me about?
No, but I must say I enjoyed our chat.
You
Honey,
know, I have to say I did too. It's quite nice to have you, for the most part, on your own. How
likewise.
is how is Torvald doing, by the way?
Oh, he is doing well.
Hmm. Good. Well then, I am unfortunately quite busy. I have some tasks to take care of, and no, they are not the studying sort or dealing with any kind of project, unfortunately, that I could gloat about and maybe get your insights on, but something very important nonetheless. So, unfortunately, I will have to take my leave.
Of course. Oh, and my good friend Omar Shadid would have me remind you that please do check out all the merchandise in his shop when you leave.
Hmm.
He is a merchant at heart.
Yes, I do believe it might be quite um, offensive, maybe, if I do not at least take a look at what he's selling. I'll make sure to peruse his wares. Thank you for the tip on that.
Hmm. Think nothing of it. And please do not feel yourself pressured to buy anything. But he has a quite nice selection, I suppose.
Hmm.
Anyways, it was a very good pleasure to meet you. Please
Like,
have a very good evening, and yes, do give my regards to Aldrich next time you see him.
hmm. Certainly. Be healthy, Madeline. And he will simply stand at that, collecting the book, kind of clutching it to his side as he begins. Well, he stands and gives her a small bow, and then comes around the table, giving Mildred a nod. The woman in the armor, and they simply begin to walk out as they came in.
Yeah, and actually, Madeline will probably almost follow you down as she begins to just says a little thing that she has other business she must attend to as well.
Mm.
You will, as you're leaving, you will notice that she talks with two monks. You think, like they look like monks, but they're not like wearing. They're not wearing any like markings of an order, like
Hmm.
most do. Like they would have some sort of sign of this order or that order. They don't seem to have any, but she just talks with them, and the three of them walk off.
Okay. Yeah, he basically kind of like stands at his carriage. Seems to have some kind of you know conversation with Mildred, and then they kind of get in and kind of ride off.
All right. And as to leave the area, I do believe that this is the moment that the scene will come to a close. Thank you very much, players, for playing, and watchers for watching. Good night.